Ich hab dich zu viel lieb. Ich trug auf dir kein Hass. Ich hab dich zu viel lieb. Sie sein auf dir in Kass, weil ich hab dir zu...
My mother and her mother and her sister decided they would leave. They couldn't leave from Russia because Russia wasn't allowing anyone out, and in the meanwhile, the grandmother said she wouldn't go without her rug, and she rolled it up, and she was going to carry it, because she wouldn't go to another country without her rug. And they hired some men to take them across. They went at night, they crossed the border, and all of a sudden they realized that Sonia, her youngest sister, wasn't with them. Sonia was left behind. The men didn't want to go back. They finally argued with them. So they went back and they got Sonia. And they were walking, and all of a sudden, there's a man on horse, a soldier on horseback, comes. And Grandma just offers her rug to the soldier on horseback. And he takes it, and he rides away. And that's how they got across the border. And they were in Poland now. That's a side story. Well, my mother went to the joint, and she in Poland, and one day she came home and she told my grandmother that she met Beresh Karnak, and he looked awful. He was so thin, and he looked like he was hungry. And my grandmother said, "Why didn't you invite him for Shabbos?" And my mother said, "Oh, okay." And she waited. She went back to the joint and met him again and invited him for Shabbos, for dinner. And they went, and they went, and they went, and they
stayed.
They stayed. And they talked about marriage. And my mother wouldn't get married without her father. Her father was in the States. So she wrote to her father and asked him to send the papers for Beresh Karnak, because she's going to marry him. And he sent papers that it was his nephew, and they didn't have computers in those days, and they didn't do the research, and he sent the papers. In the meanwhile, my mother had a younger sister who was about 13 at the time, and she had a disease of the skin. It was probably some sort of eczema or whatever. And they didn't know how to work it out. So they finally figured out that she didn't know her father. She was like 2 when he left. And then came the Russian Revolution, the World War I, so she didn't know him. Which reminds me of another story, but they decided that the grandmother should go to America first. So she'd be there to
greet them.
And my mother would remain behind because my mother was 8 years older than her sister. And she will be there in case she came back. And they sent the sister first class because they didn't bother first class very much. And so she went and she remained there, and she remained in the United States. She went on the ship, and she went first class. And, okay, she was then 14, so she went by herself. And then my mother left in August, I think of August of 23. No, my father left in August of 23. But in the meantime, they had a wonderful time. They went to Germany, and they went to a ball. They went here, and they went there, and they had a wonderful time. America, in August of 23, my mother came a little earlier. They got married in April 12th of 1924. And they lived with my grandmother and grandfather. And things were okay until the Depression. And things were very, very bad then. And they had borrowed money from this relative and that relative, not relatives, friends. They had borrowed money to open a fruit store. And my father ended up paying it back, every cent of it, even though his father-in-law had borrowed the money. Erwin was born. They told my mother to have a baby immediately because one ovary wasn't working, and they were concerned that the other ovary, and she had Erwin.
Go.
My mother tried for 8 years to become pregnant, for 7 years, and she couldn't become. She would go to doctors. One doctor told her, when hair grows on my palm, you'll become pregnant. There were a lot of, and one doctor gave her medicine to kill it, and she didn't want to take it. And my father said, "You'll take it. If not, I'll come back and I'll go with you, and you'll take it. I'll make sure you take it." So she would go upstairs. At 3 o'clock, she would go upstairs and throw the pill down the toilet. And she finally became pregnant. And one woman told me she was delighted she had a girl. And one woman told me that my father went running through the streets. I was born after midnight. They climbed out the window, and then she went to the hospital. She had the baby and me. And then my grandmother told my brother that he had a sister, and he didn't want me. He said, "Leave her there." And he said he wanted a brother or nothing, and they brought him home a sister. And there are no pictures of me because they didn't have a camera, and there are no pictures of me, and I feel very badly about it. One of the things that that I had, my mother knitted hats and outfits, and I never saw any of them because, and that's it. The first picture I have of me, I was about 5 or 6 years old, and I was at my aunt's house in New Rochelle.
You ran away?
Well, I didn't really run away. I was planning to. I was planning to go to my aunt, great aunt in Washington. I was planning on going to my brother in California, though he was in the Navy, because my mother was very strict. And I realize now that maybe she wasn't as strict as I thought she was. We had a back entrance which was steps, and my father usually came up those steps because he put his truck in there, and I would run to meet him, the first one, and my mother would say, "I'll tell your father how bad you were, and then he won't kiss you." And so I'd run and get the kiss first. And my mother never did tell my father. But I planned, I had the suitcase all ready, and I just never went. I remember my Sweet 16 party. I had a gorgeous dress, and I had the relatives came over. I had two parties. One was for my friends, and that was in a finished basement somewhere, and one was for the relatives. And a friend of mine was a boy, was a caller of a caller of square dancing, and they took out the bedroom set, and they took out the bedroom set, they took out and they danced. And oh, that was such fun. And my parents saw this the night before, so they wanted it. So that was a wonderful day. But I can't remember otherwise.
Okay.
It was raining, and my mother said that was because I was an usher. You know what an usher is?
And Nasher who likes to eat?
And Nasher who likes candy, cake,
Yes.
sweet stuff. In those days, it was customary for the groom to come to get the bride. And I did my hair, my nails. I did my mother's hair and nails. And I did my maid of honor's nails. And all of a sudden, the doorbell rang. And my mother started yelling at me why I wasn't ready.
Who was it? At the door.
Oh, it was Harvey and his mother and his brother. And we by that time I had gotten the gown on because I had been walking around in the slip, you know, that hoop skirt.
Mm-hmm.
I wore Rhoda's wedding gown. I wore her
Why?
gown. My mother said it was cheaper.
It was still beautiful.
I cut out a piece. She had a high neck. I can't wear anything with a high neck because I have no neck. So I followed the lace pattern and I cut out this piece up here. And we took pictures and we went to the place, and they had us do the ceremony practice,
Mm-hmm.
and they brought over little pieces of hors d'oeuvres for us.
Okay.
And the wedding lasted till 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock, and in those days I could get up. Harvey counted out the money, because he's an accountant, and we went to the Waldorf Astoria, and we took this man with us. He was going to the train station, and we went in, and Harvey registered. He forgot me. He registered as Mr. Harvey Neymar, and the clerk saw me standing there. He said, do you want to include her? And he put me down, and it was a very small room, very small, but it had gorgeous, thick white towels. I washed my hair at night, and I was setting it. I had these pains that came in the front, and according to paper, it said that you should wait until the pains come to the front. So I was up, I went to bed, I was up, I went to bed. I was up all night. I was up the next day, and I was waiting for the pains to come to the front. You know, you think you know it all. You read all the books, and about 8 or 9 o'clock, about 9 o'clock, I finally figured that maybe I should go to the hospital. So we went downstairs, and it was raining, and our car wouldn't start. So I called Terry's husband and asked him whether he would take me to the hospital. And he came over, and he took me part of the way. Harvey's car started finally, and he caught up to us, and I insisted on getting out and getting in his car because I said it wasn't right to go to the hospital with Terry's husband. And they said that she examined me, and she said, "Oh, you're really ready." So she called the doctor. It was Saturday night. He came over with an anesthesiologist who was wearing something gray, like a gray tweed shirt, and one he pushed on my stomach over here, and the other one caught. Anyway, they said Joel weighed 9 pounds 4 ounces. Bobby had a very difficult childhood. He was 3 when he's diagnosed with cerebral palsy. He wasn't walking. I spent a tremendous amount of time with him because we had to do exercises every night. Harvey never did any of those things. Harvey was a very good father when they got older, but he was not very good when they were babies. He had a very difficult life, a very difficult childhood. His mother was 18 when she married, 19 when she had him, not quite 19, and she resented being tied down. She would wait when he'd ring the doorbell, her husband would ring the doorbell. She had her coat on, and she flew to go to the movies, to go out with girls. This was, what she would do. She took him to the movies. He was 2 years old. She took him, and she plied him with candy in order to get him to sit. When he finished the candy, he went ready to go home. No, she gave him more candy. So he didn't have a father his mother was pregnant with Jackie, the younger brother, when he died very suddenly. He had a brain tumor. And so he really didn't know what to do with children. And I wouldn't trust him with my children. I was very protective of them. Erwin still talks about, even as he got older, how Dad the loving that exuded from my father. I have some pictures of my father. You can see it. You can just see it. I'm very happy because if any woman walked over to my father, like in the nursing home, when a nurse, my mother would go over and hit them.
Ich hab dich zu viel lieb. Ich trug auf dir kein Haar. Ich hab dich zu viel lieb. Zu sein auf dir in Kass, weil ich hab dich zu viel lieb. Zu sein auf dir Gurbeis, Anar ich heiß, ich weiß, ich hab dich lieb. Ich wollt mein Leben weggegeben, mein Herz in meine Schuhe. Ich bin krank, nur mein Gedanke tracht nicht, wenn ich komme, weil ich hab dich zu viel lieb. Zu sein auf dir Gurbeis, Anar ich heiß, ich weiß, ich hab dich lieb. I love you much too much, I've known it from the start, but yet my love is such, I can't control my heart. I love you much too much. I ask myself what for. And darling, when we touch, I love you more. Perhaps I hold your heart too tightly, but who am I to say if I should hold it lightly? It might slip away. Ich hab dich zu viel lieb. Ich trug auf dir kein Hass. Anar ich heiß, ich weiß.